can just lay this down, sit this down right next to Uncle Ed, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, Uncle Ed, tell me where Grandma and Grandpa came from, and where they met, and when they got married.
Well, we got to put the date on this.
Okay, today is
23rd.
23rd of June,
Right.
and I'm with my Uncle Ed Fudim.
It's 12:27 in the afternoon. And my name, as you call me, is Ed Fudim, but that's not my real name. That's my alias. My name is Ezra, spelled E-Z-R-A. Fudim is the only real part of the name. And the reason I call myself Ed, I had a hard time in school. You know, I come from the east side of New York, and the elements in the school, the other pupils were mostly Irish toughies, Italian toughies, and here's this little Jew boy with the name of Ezra, and they couldn't understand why I was called Ezra. There must be something wrong with me. So I had a teacher once. She used to needle me. Her name was Mrs. Cohn. And I was sort of a daydreamer. And to wake me up, she'd yell across the room, "Ezra!" You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like it. And one day, when she said, "Ezra," I said, "Yes, Mrs. Ice Cream Cone." She said, "Step to the front, Ezra. You're going down to the assistant principal's office. Insubordination." I didn't know what insubordination meant. All I knew, if I'm going to the assistant principal's office, I'm in trouble. So I got down to the assistant principal's office, and this was when I was maybe the 3rd or 4th grade or something like that. And I get down to the assistant principal's office. Her name was Miss Duffy. We learned to submit. And she says, "What happened?" And I told her. So she said, "Well, I'm going to send for your mother." So she kept me there, and she set the monitor to go get my mother. My mother couldn't speak English. And when she came to the assistant principal's office, she saw me sitting there, and she said, "Was war zu uns, dass wir schön getun? Was hast du getun? Und verwusst nicht sie mir." Translation, what kind of trouble are you in now? And why did she send for me? So I told her the story. So my mother became very indignant. For this, they send somebody to bring it, it's ridiculous. And she told, in her broken English, the little that she knew, to the assistant principal. The assistant principal said to me, "What does she say?" Well, the whole thing turned into a fiasco. So I let that go by, and as I got older, I started to resent the name of Ezra, because everybody made fun of me. The kids called me Ezekiel, which is not my name. My brothers called me Izzy. Nobody seemed to say Ezra except my grandmother, my mother, and my father. Everybody else made fun of the name, so I decided I was going to call myself something else. someday, not then, there. Well, the someday came when I met my wife, or was not my wife at the time. She was a girl in the neighborhood that I took a shine to. I liked her. And she asked me what was my name. I said, my name is Eddie. That's how Eddie was born. And I'm going back 65 years.
Well,
65 years ago, I started to call myself Eddie. Then, when I was a teenager, I was looking for a summer job, and I went to the Heckscher Foundation, which was like a settlement house on the east side, and they were there to help young boys, regardless of what their religion was, help them to get along in this world, help them with their education, social problems, and whatever. And they counselors there. And I went to a counselor and I said, I'd like to have a job for the summer. So she said, I'll get you a job. So one day she called and said she had a job for me. She gave me the address and the name of a doctor who was on the west side in Manhattan. I didn't know that this doctor was a psychiatrist. And I went to this doctor. I got dressed very nicely. I was about 14 years of age. And I went in and he said, sit down. He said, what's your name? I said, my name is Eddie. Eddie? That's a very childish name, Eddie. You're growing up to be a man. Do you like the name? I said, well, no. I said, what do you suggest? He said, how about calling yourself Ed? He said, well, why? That's not your name. He says, on this card it says Ezra Fudim. Why are you calling yourself Eddie? That's not your name. So I went through a long explanation, the same as I just gave you. Why I call myself Eddie? Because they used to taunt me with the name of Ezra. The teachers, children in school. He said, well, that's understandable. From now on, people ask you your name, you say, my name is Ed. And that's the way it's remained to this very day. That doesn't tell you or give you any knowledge about my mother and father or where they come from and when did they come here.
yeah.
My mother and father came from Russia. It's a part of Russia which is now known as the Ukraine. At that time it was the Tsarist Russia. And the city they came from was Odessa, which is located right on the Black Sea. It's a seaport city, very big city in Russia, in the Ukraine. And they came here, I think, about 1910. I think it was about 1910. And my father was in the Russian army. He was conscripted when he was of age, and he served his duty. In the meantime, his brother, whose name was Israel, one of his brothers, his name was Israel, and he was engaged to my mother. They were engaged to be married, and he contracted tuberculosis, which in those days they called consumption, in Russia, and he died. My father was still in the army, so my father came home after he did his duty in the army. He came and he started courting my mother. She was a very beautiful woman, and she was one of, let's see, boys, 8 children. My grandmother, my grandfather owned a restaurant in Odessa. And my grandmother did all the cooking. My grandfather was the cashier. And my aunts, the older aunts, waited on tables. And my mother worked in the kitchen with my grandmother, doing the cooking and the baking. And that's how they earned, the whole family earned their livelihood. Around 1905, there was a big pogrom. In case you don't know what a pogrom is, it's when they have the Cossacks used to get liquored up with whiskey, which was given to them by their superiors.
By the commanding officers, yeah.
The commanding officers. And the Cossacks rode on horses, and they had long sabers. And they would swoop down on the Jewish section where the Jews lived and cut them to pieces with these sabers, kill them, murder them. And there always was those, what they call pogroms, was anti-Semitism. And my father, who wasn't married to my mother yet, he said, oh, no, I think it was my grandfather, said it's time to leave Russia and go to the Golden Land, which is America. There they don't kill Jews, they don't slaughter them, they let you live, and you can make a nice living there and bring up your children and raise your children. My grandfather had a brother who went to Paris, lived in France. He was my Uncle Shema. He had another brother who went to England and lived in London, and he was a tailor there. And another brother who went to America. His name was Oscar.
So this is from the Mitchell side of the family, right? You're talking about, or from the...
That's the Mitchell side.
Mitchell side, yeah, okay.
That's, my father didn't have a family. He had a mother, a sister, and a brother. And, let's see.
Yeah, Beryl was one of his...
Beryl was his older brother.
Mm-hmm.
Beryl came to the United States after my father. Well, my father, my grandfather, Mitchell, Morris Mitchell, whose name was not Mitchell, his name was, his Jewish name, his Russian name, whatever, his name was Mitzelmacher. And when he came to America, he was the first one to come over to America with my grandmother. And her oldest daughter, her name was Simma. And her daughter, next to the oldest daughter, her name was Yanya. In English was Lola. Her name was Lola. They came over. And two younger daughters. They were younger than my mother. One was
Sonia?
Molly,
Oh.
Jewish called Malka, and my mother's youngest sister, her name was Sonia. And my grandmother took my uncle Aby. When he got to America, he started calling himself Al. My youngest uncle Aby. And she left, my Uncle Phil and my Uncle Dave in Russia, and they sent for them later on. See, that's the way the migration was, you know. The older people would come here first and settle themselves, gather enough money to send them a ticket on a ship. This was called a ship scout then. And they would bring over children. My Uncle Dave came over with my mother and my father. They were already married. My mother and father were already married in Russia. And her brother Dave, who was her oldest brother, came over with her, and Uncle Phil came over with her. When they stopped in Hamburg, Germany, where they stayed until they were able to get on a ship coming to America. And when they got to Ellis Island, you had to pass a physical test. Everybody had to pass a physical test to see to it that you're not bringing any communicable diseases into this country. And if they found that there was something wrong with you, you weren't perfectly healthy, you got on the next ship going back, you went back the way you came from. They wouldn't let you in. But in the meantime, they kept you quarantined in Ellis Island. So my Uncle Dave, he didn't pass the test. He had something wrong with his eyes, some sort of maybe conjunctivitis or whatever in his eyes. So they sent him back.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they sent him back to
Hamburg, huh?
to Hamburg. And they made arrangements with somebody there that would take care of him. I don't know who it was. But he eventually came over here. And that's how they came to America. When my father got here, he lived with my grandmother for a short while. Both he and my mother lived with my grandmother for a short while, and then he got a job. My father, when he was a young boy, was apprenticed to a tailor, to learn how to be a tailor. You see, in Russia, in most of the European countries, Jewish boys at a certain age are apprenticed to some sort of a craft. Could be a tailor, could be a blacksmith, could be a butcher, but they must learn a trade. Of course, if you don't have a trade, you don't survive. You don't know what kind of work to look for. See? So my father served his apprenticeship with a tailor, and he became a tailor. He came over here, he had a trade. So immediately he looked for a job, and he got a job. But in those days, when these immigrants came over here, they took any kind of a job they could get for any kind of a salary they could earn. Of course, they couldn't speak English, didn't know the language, didn't know how to manipulate the money, they didn't know a penny from a quarter or whatever. I mean, we take it for granted, you know, sure, a penny, 10 cents, a nickel, but these people don't know. They come from a foreign country. The money is entirely different. The money they had in Russia was a kopeke. Kopeke was, I don't know what it was, to tell you the truth, but it wasn't a hell of a lot. And when it came to a dollar, it was a ruble. That I know. A ruble. And a kopeke is times nickel, that's the equivalent of here. So they were taken advantage of when they came here, these immigrants, and they were practically like slave labor. They got paid hardly anything, and they worked hard. And they started working 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and worked right down to 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night in a factory, like sewing machines, sewing, so on and so forth. And this happened in every group of immigrants that came here, whether they came from Ireland or they came from Italy or where they come from. They got the menial jobs, digging ditches. You know, the Italians right away became dig ditches, you give them a pick and a shovel. They went out there and they worked and worked and worked. And they did the best they could. They had the same problem. They couldn't speak the language. You see? The Irish, when they came over here, they had that problem. The big migration of the Irish during the
potato famine, yeah.
When they came over here in droves, they took any kind of job, do anything. Anyway, that's how my folks come over here, and that's how they started. So I brought you up to date on how they got here, what they did. Now, if you have any questions, I'll answer them. Okay. So let's see what you do.
So it's the red and the black button that's around the red button, and that's now we're on record. We're recording right now.
Okay. All right. Questions. So next. Yes.
Also, what was it like growing up in New York? You had to work. There was not much time for you as children for play, right? You worked for Grandpa, and then how far did you go? How far did you and all your brothers and sisters go in school?
Well, my brother Louis got as far as high school. I don't know what year he was in when he stopped going to school, but I do know that he was the only Fudim that went to high school until my brother Bernie went to high school. Louis went to high school. He went to George Washington High, which is in Inwood, in New York City. It's up around 233rd Street, somewhere around there on the west side. And he went to high school. Louis played football. Louis played the violin. Played it very well too. He played in a couple of orchestras. And that's another story. Phil and I both got out in the 8th grade. Phil got out before me. And that was during the height of the Depression, when it was very difficult to exist unless you went on home relief. Those days they didn't call it welfare, they called it home relief. And you got packages of food from them and all that. Oh, we didn't do that. My father was too proud to go to ask for home relief. So he said, look, you had enough schooling. I was 14 and a half years old, eligible for my working papers. Those days you had to get working papers. And Phil was the same thing. So we both left school in the 8th grade. Phil went to work for my Uncle Dave and my Uncle Phil. They had a pocketbook factory, ladies' handbags, and he worked there. And I worked there briefly, maybe 2 weeks. That's all I lasted. I didn't like it anyway. I never could stand by table and work on that table, doing the same thing repetitiously all day long. And my job was to, after the day's work was done, to clean up sweep up the factory and all that. And 5 o'clock came. I saw all the workers going home. So I put the broom on up against the wall and I said good night. And I was going home. So my Uncle Phil says to me, "Where are you going?" I said, 5 o'clock. I'm going home. Everybody else is going home.
Stuff.
We'll get back to the education.
Yeah.
So now,
I don't even want it.
I stopped it just.
I don't want to rewind it.
No, I think Uncle Ed remembers what he said.
yeah, I wound up telling you that I got out in the 8th grade and went to work.
Mm-hmm.
Louis left high school. My father said, "Enough education. We got to make a living. We got to eat. I'm doing the best I can." He says, "I can't do any more." And my father had his own business, and he was a manufacturer of vests. That's all he made, men's vests. He had a factory, people working, and when the crash in Wall Street came, and after that was the Depression, he lost his business. You see, his business depended upon the custom tailor. A custom tailor is a man who, you go in, a tailor you go into, and he fits you for a suit. He makes it for you. In those days, they didn't. People, the wealthy people, the well-to-do people, the Wall Street people, they had a tailor make up a suit for them, made to order, what they call a made-to-order suit. So my father, he made the vests. The pants maker would make the pants, and the coat maker would make the jacket. My father made the vests. So when these people went broke in Wall Street, they couldn't afford to make a suit. They were selling apples on a corner for 5 cents a piece to make a living. These same people. So my father's business was gone. So the only way he could make a living, and it happened by accident, he was walking near 110th Street, Park Avenue, when he saw a store where people were sitting at a machine, Spanish people, Puerto Ricans. Women were sitting at machines and they were sewing. So he stopped by and watched them doing that. The man that owned the place, he started talking to my father in Spanish. My father looked like he was Spanish. He was dark-haired, had a black mustache, and he had that complexion, and my father told him he don't speak Spanish. So his man asked him, "What do you do?" He told him he was a tailor, and he made vests, but he don't make anymore because he lost his factory due to the Depression. So the man talked. He was very friendly, and he saw they were cutting. When they were cutting the material, there was material that they threw away, that they couldn't use, small pieces. So he asked this man, could he have those pieces? He said, "Sure, take away," because he threw them in the garbage. So my father brought those pieces home, and he sat down at his sewing machine and he made ladies' aprons. Put an apron on. And he made enough of them, take them out into the street. He put them over his shoulder, see? and he walked through the streets and hollered, "Ladies, aprons, 10 cents." Who wouldn't buy an apron for 10 cents? Pretty soon he was sold out. So we went back again to that store, and he says, "Can I have more of those pieces you brought?" He says, "Go ahead." This time my father brought a big bag. You know, he made a bag, like a, pillowcase, a sack. And I went along with him, while my brother Phil, my brother Louis wouldn't go. And we cleaned up the man's place, put all those pieces in the sack. My father brought it home, and he and my mother put together aprons, and he went through this. It cost him nothing but his labor. Went through the streets hollering, "Ladies, aprons," and he went through different neighborhoods. He established like a route, and then he started making what they called in those days Hoover aprons. It was something different. It was almost like a dress. But it was attractive because of the different colors that he blended in, like...
It was like quilt work then.
Yeah, it was like, and now he's selling 15 cents a piece. And then from that he started to make a living. We had food on the table. We didn't have the greatest foods. We didn't spend a lot of money for it. To give you an example, my father used to go down on Park Avenue. See, we lived in East Harlem. You've heard of East Harlem. We lived in East Harlem. And along Park Avenue, there was push carts. And people would sell fruits and vegetables off these push carts, and whatever they didn't sell, they would put it up against the wall, and the sanitation department would come in and pick it up and put it in the garbage. Well, my father would wait until the push carts left. He went over there, and he'd pick out the better ones that they left. Perfectly edible. All you could do was wash them in the cold water. We had tomatoes, we had apples, we had pears. We were never for want of food. But he used to bring home lots of it. And that's the way we got along. My brother Louis got a job in the Brooklyn Navy Yard as a ship carpenter. And I got a job. Oh yeah, I told you about my uncle in the factory when
The pocketbooks.
Pocketbooks. So he says to me, "Where you going?" I said, "I'm going home." I said, "Everybody left. It's 5 o'clock. I'm going home." He says, "What are you, a union man?" I said, "No, I'm not a union man. I'm just tired. I don't want to work anymore. I want to go home." He said, "Well, don't come in here anymore. You don't have a job." And he paid me something like $5 a week for that. So I said, "Good, I don't like working here anyway." And I left. And I got a job near home. There was a meat wholesaler who used to go to the slaughterhouse during the day and wait until they slaughtered the animals, the steers, and then at night, about midnight, a truck would come from the slaughterhouse to his place, and I would help unload the trailer with the truck with the meat and bring it into his store. The butchers would come in and buy meat from this man. He was a wholesaler. And for that I got $3 a night. The trouble was, it was only 2 nights a week that he needed me. So I made $6. So I said, well, there isn't much of a future in it. And I tried various jobs, and nothing worked out. I just bounced around from one thing to another. Finally, my grandmother, Martha Mitchell, Mary Mitchell, her Americanized name. Did I tell you how they got the name of Mitchell? The name was Mitzelmacher in Russia. Mm-hmm. So when they came to Ellis Island, they went before the guy that was admitting him, And this Irishman, he couldn't say Mitzelmacher. So he kept asking my grandfather, what's your name? And my grandfather started to stutter, Mitchell. So finally he said, okay, it's Mitchell. So he marked down his name, Mitchell. Mitchell is an Irish name.
Yeah.
And he put down my grandmother's name as Mary Mitchell. My grandfather's name was Morris Mitchell. Well, there are Irishmen named Morris too.
Right.
That part is okay. And that's the way it remained, Mitchell. So I knocked around from one job to another. And my grandmother, who I loved very much, and she loved me, sat me down one day. She said, you didn't want to work for your uncles. That was her sons, in the pocketbooks. You have to have a future. You got to know a trade. If you don't know a trade, you're lost in this world. Pick what you want, but you must have a trade. So I said, I don't know what to pick. My father was a tailor. I don't like that. My uncle's a pocketbook maker. I don't like that. She said, well, what do you like? I said, I don't know. She said, let me tell you something. A good trade is food. Anything in food. People in bad times don't have to have diamonds. They could wear not too fancy clothes. They can live with it. And they can do without a lot of things. But they can never do without food. They must have food. So if you pick food as a trade, you'll always make a living and you'll always eat. That's the important thing. I said, thanks, Bubby. So where do I go to for a job, Bubby? She said, does your mother go to a butcher? I said, yeah. She said, go to that butcher and tell him you want a job. You want to learn the trade. That's all. That's all you have to tell him. So I went to the butcher where my mother bought her meat, and his name was Mr. Horowitz. He was a very nice man. He had a beard all the way down to his pupik. And he said, I'll teach you how to cut meat. But first, he says, I got to start you off by plucking chickens. In Jewish, it's called a chicken flicker. You pluck chickens, you take the feathers out of the chicken. So I said, okay. So he showed me how to do it, and I was very good at it. I did it. There was only one problem with that. Chickens have lice.
Oh, boy, they have lice.
And the lice were crawling all over me. When I lived a block away from where I worked. I lived at 107th Street, and his store was on 106th Street. So he told me, he says, when you get home, he says, tell your mother to buy Lifebuoy soap. And when you get home, get in the bathtub and wash yourself from top to bottom, the Lifebuoy soap. That soap will kill it. It will kill the lice. He says, leave your clothes in the hallway. Don't bring it into the rest of the house. You'll have lice all over the house. That's wonderful. What a future. I'm going to be a chicken plucker, and this is the way I got to live. So anyway, I worked for him almost a year. Finally, one day, he let me cut a bone, a shin bone. That's the extent of him teaching me how to cut meat. He made good use of me for $3 a week. Oh yeah, $3 a week. I never saw the $3. But my mother used to come in and take meat and
deduct it from your wages.
She said, deduct it from my son's wages. So when I asked him, Mr. Horowitz, how about payday? Payday. What's for our payday? He said, what are you talking about payday? They still can payday, no payday. The mama is taking them in flesh. In other words, your mother took me, so I don't have any money for you. So I said, fine, this is a great future. So I went home and I said to my mother, I worked and you come in and you take meat. She said, do you eat? I said, yes. She said, you eat that meat? Okay. I said, yeah, but everybody else is eating the meat, but I'm working. She He says, so everybody else is working, and you got heat, and you got a place to live, pay rent. One pays for the rent, the other one pays for the meat, so on and so forth. We were 5 boys and 1 girl. I had a sister. I still have a sister. And I said, well, okay, next step. I gotta look. So I said to my father, I told him what the situation was. He said, well, he said, true, it's not fair. He says, but you got to get another job. But he says, plucking chickens is no job for an American boy. That's for a greenhorn who just gets off the boat, comes to America, and he can't speak English. He says, you give him a job like that. He says, my son don't have to pluck chickens. For $3 a week, you don't have to work like that. He said, I'll get you a job. So my father went on Madison Avenue. We lived right off Madison Avenue. He walked from Madison Avenue all the way to 86th Street from where we lived, wherever he saw a Gentile butcher shop, not a kosher butcher shop, a Gentile butcher shop, which was a lot cleaner. He went in and he told him he had a son who was an apprentice butcher now who would like to have a job. Meaning me. And he got me a job. He got me a job right near where Aunt Lil lived. But I didn't know Aunt Lil at the time. So I got a job there, $8 a week. And this guy really taught me how to cut meat. His name was Simon Sachs. He taught me how to cut meat. And that's how I became a butcher. My brother Louis lost his job in the Navy Yard, and I got him a job at another butcher shop, 99th Street, Madison Avenue. My brother Phil was still working for my uncles with the pocketbooks, and their work was seasonal. So there were times that he went without work for months. There was no work. And we had it better. It was 52 weeks a year. We worked every day of the week. And that's how we got started in the meat business. Next, what do you want to know?
You have some questions, Benjamin? Okay. Grandpa Louis. I mean, your brother Louis.
Yes.
His grandfather.
Yes.
What was his life like from his teen years on? I know he joined the National Guard for a while. He always wanted to be a soldier. And
Louis liked the uniform, and he liked to be with a rifle on his shoulder. He liked to go in parades. National Guard were in a lot of parades in New York. New York had a lot of parades up Fifth Avenue, and they used to call out the National Guard and the Naval Reserve. And all these people put them in uniform and march close order drill.
Yeah.
Squad left, squad
I used to
right.
go with him to the armory. I can remember as almost 3 or 4 years old, my dad would go down to the armory.
Oh, that was not the National Guard.
No.
That was the war was on.
Oh, okay.
That was when the war started. I was in that armory too. Home Guard. The National Guard was federalized. It went right into the regular army when this country went to war. So there was no National Guard. So they organized the Home Guard and used the same armories and the same old Springfield rifles that they had there. And they didn't even have any uniforms. We were so unprepared for this war. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Roosevelt was the greatest man in the world as far as I'm concerned. How he got this country together right after Pearl Harbor. We had nothing. We had no uniforms. We had the old Springfield 30-30 rifles. And all we did was go to the armory and march around on the armory floor there, you know, close order drills,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Now, But my father joined the National Guard, and he was stationed in Vermont for a while, and he was dating some girl, and...
Well, that's the Home Guard.
Okay.
He was with the Home Guard, which was the old National Guard outfit, and they go they went up to Peekskill. No, the one in Vermont, in Burlington, Vermont, he knew that girl when he was working in the Brooklyn Navy Yard.
Oh.
That was another story. And Peekskill, I don't know. I didn't go with them. I gave up. I thought it was ridiculous. So I didn't continue with my military career.
Louis volunteered for the Navy, right?
Yes. He was working for Ziggy at the time. And nobody knew about it. All of a sudden, Louis in the Navy.
And you were in the service too. Didn't they call Bernie went into the Army Air Corps?
Bernie also volunteered in the Air Corps. Bernie was not living at home. Bernie got a job with the Republic Steel Company in Buffalo, New York.
Okay, and
in the maintenance department. And when war broke out, he called up. He said he's enlisting. He's got an opportunity as a cadet in the Air Corps, which he washed out in. I don't know why. So
Phil was in the Army.
Phil was working with me in the slaughterhouse, and he decided he was going down. He's going to enlist, and he went down there. And a friend of his, who he had worked with, the butcher shop in Far Rock, like Joe. I don't think of his name. They had a customer. He worked at Far Rockaway in the butcher shop before he came to work in the slaughterhouse with me. And this woman, her husband was a colonel in the Quartermaster Corps, Colonel Hirschberger. And this guy Joe said to her, he says, I feel that I want to enlist. He says, can you talk to your husband and see what he can... She says, no problem enlisting. He said, but I like to be in the outfit that he is the colonel of. She said, okay. So Joe got in, the quartermaster, of course, so he got a hold of Phil. He said, Phil, you know Colonel Hirschberger and his wife? They were in Fort Hamilton.
Okay, yeah, I know Fort Hamilton.
Sure, that was the quartermaster. And if you come into the Army now, he says, chances are you'll never go overseas. You stay with the Quartermaster Corps. So sure enough, Phil went down, he enlisted, and he remained with the Quartermaster Corps, but not in Fort Hamilton. He was stationed in the port of embarkation in Brooklyn, all through the war.
Wow.
Nobody knew that he didn't have basic training until one day, and he was already a sergeant, until one day some people come up from Washington on an inspection, and that was about 2 years after he enlisted. And he was a staff sergeant. No, not. He was a staff sergeant. Well, three-striper.
That's a buck sergeant.
He's a buck sergeant, right.
Yeah.
And the guy was in charge of the inspection. He says, how long have you been in the Army, soldier? He told him, 2 years. He says, you did pretty good. He says, where'd you get your basic training? He says, I never had basic training, sir. You never held a rifle? Phil says he started shitting in his pants right there. So this man's got to get basic training. Get him out of here. So Phil's lieutenant, who was very happy with Phil because Phil had organized the whole butcher department and a lot of men working under him. And
never went to basic training.
Yeah. So they sent him for basic training upstate New York here.
Watertown?
No, not Watertown, not too far from here.
Newburgh?
Right around
Yeah,
there.
Newburgh, yeah.
Yeah, right around there, near Stewart.
Camp Stewart, yeah. Stewart Air Base.
Right,
There, yeah.
right, that's where he went. So he was up there about 2 weeks, and finally his lieutenant called him. He says, Fudim, you're coming back. He says, they went back to Washington. He says, come on back, I need you so bad. So Phil went back to Brooklyn. But, he says he didn't know which end of the rifle to shoot. Just forget about it.
That's funny. Tell me about the cousin circle. I remember a little bit about the meetings and stuff. What was the purpose of the cousin circle?
Oh, so keep the family together. It was a fad that a lot of people who our age, you know, their folks came over the same circumstances, came to this country. They had cousins should know each other, stick together, and help each other wherever they can. Which was a good thought.
It was, yeah.
And it was all right after for a while, but then it got a little bit nasty, you know. And some of especially when they started to drink, you know, they say nasty things to one another. So I dropped out, and then Phil dropped out, and then Louis dropped out. Somebody's here.